The Competition Commission's Fresh Produce Market Inquiry is holding public hearings in Pretoria, and this work of the inquiry started in March. Let's get more on this now and speak to Sipho Ngwema, who's the Competition Commission spokesperson. Mr. Ngwema, thank you so much for your time this evening. Let's start with the purpose of this inquiry.
Thank you very much. The purpose of this inquiry is to address concerns from the Competition Commission of any issues that may impede, distort or inhibit competition in the fresh produce value chain, basically in the fruit and veg value chain. So we want to make sure that we get to the bottom of things so that we're able to understand it, but also to understand further what influences the prices that the consumers interact with at retail. So we'll be looking at making sure that we look at the seed from the seed up to the products when they're available on the retail market, so that we can understand what influences all those interactions in that value chain.
I suppose then, as you are looking at, everything in this particular sector, one is probably asking from home, are you going to be covering the entire fresh produce market, or are there specific items that the Competition Commission would be concerned about?
We had to make sure that when we investigate the commodities in that value chain, we're able to get to the bottom. So if you look at everything, we won't be able to get to the bottom of each and every commodity. So we have chosen 5 fruit items and also 6 vegetables items. Those will be the items that feature prominently in your grocery basket, and things like your tomatoes, potatoes, in terms of fruits, apples, bananas, citrus, fruit, and so on. So we are trying to make sure that the things that people interact with from a grocery point of view in terms of frequency, those are the things that we focus on.
And someone is, watching tonight and they say that, okay, so you're going to be conducting this particular inquiry, but what difference are you then hoping that this makes, particularly when it comes to the consumer, especially where you are discovering maybe that there may be, something to look further into here, or some, possibility of anti-competitive behavior on the side of anyone in this particular value chain?
These kinds of investigations that we do, as I said, that they stem from concerns that we may have from a competition point of view in the various sectors. And these concerns, in the end, when we investigate, at the end of the investigation, we're hoping to have findings, and those findings will then lead to recommendations. Of course, the themes that we have chosen is the efficiency in the entire value chain in terms of the markets, the dynamics that are in the value chain, but also what may be an impediment to small business and previously disadvantaged. So when we look at all those things that may affect those themes that we are looking at, we are going to make recommendations, which then becomes effective, and we will make sure from a compliance point of view that those recommendations are complied with. Because at the end of the day, if people complain about all sorts of things in these particular value chains, and the Act empowers us to act on those things. So we'll use the powers that we have in terms of the Act and to make sure what has to be done is done.
So let's talk about the powers then, because some people would say that, for example, they're wondering if these kind of inquiries actually produce any kind of action, because they sometimes feel like while you may make some serious recommendations, you're calling for some serious changes here, but it doesn't look like there's much pressure that would be put on retailers and those involved in different sectors to make sure that they heed these recommendations, and we see changes when people are going to the shops with their baskets.
Undoubtedly, in terms of the hearings that we have had, or also in terms of the inquiries that we have had, we have seen a lot of action and we have seen a lot of changes. For example, I think we have made a number of announcements with regards to the regime in malls and shopping centers, where certain forces or certain entities were dominant in terms of the agreements that they were making, and all of them now are allowing competition in the various sectors. You will see, for example, in many of the malls before, there will be 1 or 2 anchor tenants and they will refuse to their competitions to be on the same. Now they are allowed to be, and you will see that whether it's chicken outlets, you have more than one choice in terms of that. So we're increasing the choice, and also that impacts on the price, that impacts on the quality, because the competition is available. And those things happen because we have made this recommendation, and we also make sure that we monitor the compliance in terms of the recommendations that we make. We take these recommendations to Parliament. The law allows us that we do that, and Parliament adopts them. When Parliament adopts them, they become law, and those things have to be done in terms of what the recommendations we would have made. So they are enforceable, and we have a division that focuses on those things to make sure that the things that we recommend are indeed done.
Very briefly, then, I see on the side of the screen there, it's the 18th to the 27th, today to the 27th. How do members of the public get involved?
Firstly, they can come to the hearings at the DTI campus in Pretoria. This is the first round of, hopefully, of the hearings. But further, there is a live streamlining of this. We stream them live from Pretoria, and people can interact, but also they can make contact with the Competition Commission via our website if they want to make representation, if they want to come and testify, but also if they want to follow what is happening. As I said, this is the first round. We have interacted with about 39 stakeholders. That include your big retailers, and some of them are coming from Friday, and as well as the whole of next week starting on Tuesday. They're coming to testify, and all the information that people need to understand what influences the price, what are the dynamics in the value chain, whether they're in any hindrance in the admission of a small business. Those things will be clear in the public hearings. We want to be transparent so that when we make the recommendations at the end, people understand the kind of evidence that we have collected. We've already collected evidence now, but also now we have invited very many of those who have made submissions to come and answer the questions that we have based on what they have submitted to us and what our investigation is revealing so far.